Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are very excited to have Ryan McDermott joining us, the founder of Healing with Ryan. He's from Warwick, Rhode Island, and we're going to talk more today about his journey, his flight, and how his health declined and was failed by modern medicine. But you know what? He eventually was able to fix himself. He really has some amazing skills, was inspired to become a coach. We're going to get to know him, of course, and find out specifically who he can help. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being here. Excited to talk to you and to find out more about your journey. For new time listeners, can I just start off by asking your website, your contact information so we can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. My website is healingwithryan.com. And there's a contact form there if you just want to reach out. And there's also a link to schedule a discovery session with me if you're interested in working with me.
Perfect. And by the way, you are virtual, so you can work with people anywhere around the world, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I think it's always important to kind of hear your story. What brought you down this path to your journey to start coaching and help others? So I know it has to do with your own personal journey. Would you mind sharing what you went through to become the coach that you are today?
Yes. A bit of a long story. I'll start back in 2010 is when my health started to decline. And really, I was seeing a lot of doctors. I was seeing a lot of therapists, and I wasn't really getting anywhere. You know, they tried me on medications. They told me I needed to change my lifestyle, so I did. They tested me for a lot of random things like, you know, Epstein-Barr or parasites or chronic Lyme disease. And, you know, every time I got that paper back from my lab work that said, everything's normal. And I'm like,
You're
well,
like,
gee,
it's not. I don't feel right, right?
yeah, gee, I don't feel very normal. So eventually I fired everybody. I started doing my own research
Mm-hmm.
and I started working on myself. And I'd say working on myself physically, I got myself about 50% better, which was a pretty good dent. And then it turns out the rest of it was mental. And I just didn't realize how deep that thread went. You know, that's a whole other story. But at the end of the day, throughout this journey, I started helping friends and family around me. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know, this is kind of cool. This is kind of nice to be able to use the knowledge I've gained over the years and help others. So that's basically the story. And then, you know, a few circumstantial events that happened in my life, and
Yeah.
I got pushed into I got to do something with my life, and here I am. I'm certified. I'm starting a business, and I'm ready to go.
Beautiful. Well, we're excited to have you and thank you for sharing this journey with us. I know it's not easy, and we're excited to have you. By the way, if you don't mind me asking, could I just ask, you have a daughter, right?
Yes, I have a little girl.
What's
She's
her name?
9, Aria.
Oh, beautiful. I have a 9-year-old son and one that's turning 7 next week. So are they not the most amazing things? Don't they heal? Children do heal.
Oh my, you wouldn't believe. And
Hmm.
they keep you on your toes, and they keep you curious and adventuring. You know,
Yep,
that's
I saw your picture with her on Instagram. I peeked before. So it's healing.with.ryan. So excited to have you here as a parent and the work you're doing. You're helping people as a coach. Can I ask you what type of coaching are you doing and what would you say makes you different from other coaches?
yes. So the type of coaching I do is really all encompassing. And I know people say holistic and people say root causes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hear those terms thrown around a lot.
Yep.
But in my experience, I've worked with holistic people. I've worked with functional medicine practitioners. I've worked with naturopaths. I've worked with holistic psychiatrists, and not everybody has the whole picture still. You know,
Yeah.
they try and they do their best. But through a lot of trial and error and a lot of, should I say, stubbornness and
Uh-huh.
and through a lot of willpower, I've sort of spearheaded my way into finding what works in each
Mm-hmm.
individual area of healing and what works for healing traumas and childhood traumas and what works for healing your body and um, diet, your sleep, your exercise, your stress management and these things. And really what it comes down to is everybody knows what they should be doing, but not everybody is doing
Yeah.
what they need to, right? And we hear that a lot. And I think what it comes down to is there's a lot of belief system and internalized negative feedback and the childhood traumas. And there's all these little pieces that once you start piecing that stuff together, eventually you'll have this intrinsic motivation to just want to do better for yourself. It's not a matter of accountability and forcing yourself. It's a matter of realizing that you're perfectly whole just where you are and finding those pieces of yourself that you lost along the way. And then coming from a place of this like abundance and wanting to take care
Mm-hmm.
of yourself, you know.
Wow.
And that's kind of the approach I take.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. And, how can our listeners be sure that this will work for them, right? People might say, yeah, is there like a money back guarantee? How does it work? Well, clearly you have great testimonials. You have great clients that could speak for you, but would you mind sharing a little bit about that question?
Yeah, so there are a number of people that it's funny because I do have the testimonials,
Oh,
um, and I do have people that I've just been friends with for a long time, or people who are family members of mine, and they say that simply just hanging out with me, simply just
mm-hmm.
seeing what I do or having little conversations has altered the course of their life. And I see it all the time. And it's something that seems to just come naturally to me. I just I know what I need to do to stay healthy and I know what works. And I guess I'm kind of like an example for other people in that sense. But but also there's there's just it really comes from within. The process is something that each person has to go through individually. But seeing that someone else has gotten there and can do it is sometimes just enough inspiration to at least get curious and understand that, whoa, maybe I can do this too, you know? So if I can do it, you can too. It's one of those sort of things. But um, yeah, it's an interesting journey for sure.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And why should our listeners trust that you have the answer?
Well, that's just it. That's actually a trick question. I don't have the answer. You do. You
Beautiful.
all have the answer. It's
Oh,
just a matter of finding your way there. And all I can do is be a beacon, a light, a guide to sort of compare roadmaps with where I've been and compare that to where you want to be and see if we can find out how to get there together.
beautiful. And let's talk a little bit about, the process of you becoming a coach and some of your mentors, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So some of the mentors I've had along the way, in the beginning, it was people like Chris Kresser and Mark Hyman. They're more along the functional medicine side.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that information is still very pertinent and very useful. I think over the years, though, what I had fallen into was using stress management and diet and sleep and supplements and herbs and all of these things. We're trying to heal something that was more so psychological in nature. And and at the end of the day, it's getting to that root. What's the root?
Yeah.
And it seems so evasive for people. So
So
I
true.
started I started there and ended up moving on to people like Gabor Mate.
Yep.
Gabor Mate, he's clinical psychologist. He works with addiction, childhood trauma, and relationships, and and childhood development, really. And his work is just fascinating to me because what he reveals in his work is that essentially everyone is just coping.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's just getting by. Some people, we could talk about addictions like, drugs or alcohol, and not not to demonize those things, quite the opposite actually,
Yeah.
because these people are just trying to survive. And you could expand that to look at things like social media usage, or you know food addiction, or the exercise addiction. There's even self-help addiction. Like, you could be reading self-help book after self-help book
Yeah.
thinking that this is helping my problem, but it's
Yeah.
it's it's not even touching it,
Go figure.
because at the end of the day, when you sit with yourself and you sit with yourself for
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes, 20
Mm-hmm.
minutes, and you just stare at a wall,
Yeah.
if you're going crazy inside,
Yep.
there's there's something that you haven't touched yet. There's some work that you have not done yet. And it's not always it's not always easy, but that's the work that needs to be done in order to circumvent the need for all of the coping and all of the addictions, right? Just moving
Yeah.
from one thing to another. And Gabor Mate's work really touches on that stuff, and that's why I really like following him as a role model.
Beautiful. And can I just read some of the testimonials? And there's someone on the site that says, working closely with you the past few months. This is from Cesare Zietler.
Yes.
It has been an eye-opening experience. He skillfully guided me through self-discovery, made me aware of the obstacles I was unknowingly placing in my path. Thanks to his support, I've not only forged a deeper connection with myself, but also reignited my passions and nurtured a profound sense of self-love. Ryan's expertise has enabled me to cultivate a more profound understanding of my thought processes and how I cope with stress, resulting in significant positive change in my life. His wealth of knowledge provided me with the valuable tools and practical advice, kickstarting my personal growth journey. Each session with him delved deeper into actionable steps and transformative healing. I'm genuinely grateful for Ryan for reshaping my mindset and aiding in my healing journey. His guidance is invaluable. And there's quite a few more. I just wanted to share one in particular, but it's always good to read the positive. And I know there's a quote on your
Mm,
site from someone: everything you've ever wanted is sitting on the other side of fear. So
mm,
we don't have to fear. We could reach out. We could talk to you. There isn't a way.
hmm
You have coping strategies, self-help books that you can offer, whatever it is, right? Some people, need to work on stuff. So what else did you want to share for those listening today? Could you share specifically some key areas that you can help someone excel in and work on?
hmm
Someone out there today may empathize with a conversation saying, hey, I feel that way. I'm stuck at work. I'm stuck here. Would you mind sharing? Thank you.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to, is this feeling of being stuck. You know, I think, when I look at who I can help the most, it's those people that are like, man, I really want to make this change. Man, I really want my life to be different. But they look back a year earlier and they realize they're in the same place they were last year. And
Mm-hmm.
the years just keep going by. And and those are the types of people that I think could benefit the most from this sort of work. And it's, it ultimately, what ends up happening is, when you go through this work, I'm not going to say it's easy,
Yeah.
but it's so transformative. Like, and it works so well, and it works so immediately, that it's kind of, like, I even get surprised still. When
Yeah.
I'm working with somebody and we go through something together, it's hard in the moment,
Yeah.
but this is something that they've been struggling with their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And we go through it in a moment. And then after that, their life changes. So is it hard in the immediate? Yeah. I mean, the type of stuff we'll go through is everyone's worst nightmare. because it's your own personal nightmare.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff. But once you go through that, what's on the other side is a whole new perspective on life.
A whole
It's
new world. I love
yeah.
you have a daughter. A whole new world. It's like Aladdin. Yep.
Yeah, it's so transformative, and
Hmm.
it happens. Like I said, it surprises me still to this day when someone goes through that process and then I watch them zoom after that. They start making all these changes, they start having better relationships, they start advocating for themselves more. Everything in their life just changes. And
Hmm.
if there's little things I can guide you with, obviously I'm
Perfect.
highly skilled with the diet, nutrition, and stress and all that kind of stuff too, and I can guide you to the right places. But having that
Perfect.
intrinsic motivation to actually do it
Yeah.
is that's the important part.
Great. Well, if we want to reach out to you for the initial discovery call, right? You offer an initial conversation.
Hmm.
I don't know what you
Yes.
call it. Some people call it discovery calls, some people call it consultations, but it's free, right? We can reach out with any questions.
It's a small fee. It's
Oh,
it's
okay.
a
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's a small fee. It's a $15 fee. But it's just for, I schedule them for 30 minutes, but it typically we go over. We'll talk for an hour, hour and a half, depends
See
on,
if you're a good fit. And then, next time
yeah.
I want to get into the coaching process, specifically how it works. How do you know how
Mm,
long someone needs? Do people buy packages? Do you start with 1 session, 6 sessions? But all those things I'm sure people do have more questions about. And I would love to talk more
mhm.
about the clients you're helping and, of course, get to know you better. How did you want to leave off for today with your listeners and why they should reach out to you?
Well, ultimately, if you feel like you've been stuck for a long time, I was there.
Got it.
I've been through it,
You've walked
and
the walk, talked the talk.
I know what it's like. I've tried literally almost everything you can possibly think of. I've researched crazy amounts of information about all the different things, and I figured out what works. So
Good.
if you're really stuck,
Reach out.
reach out. I'm
All
here.
right. Again, Healing with Ryan. Go forward, go backward, click the arrow. Say hi, tell them we sent you, and thank you for joining us today. Don't forget healingwithryan.com. It's also all over social media. Just Google his name. Thank you so much, and looking forward to the next time we get to connect, Ryan.
All right. Thank you.
Th-
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. You have a great day, and best of luck with your family. Oh.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.